Hello everybody and welcome back to the airing of grievances. I'm Eric Reamer, this is Robert Grieve, and we are very thankful for you watching this. Happy Saturday morning to each and every one of you. Now before we actually get into this video, a couple of things. First of all, thank you to Charlie who went out and promoted the last video to a whole bunch of folks. We're super grateful for you, and welcome to our 32 new subscribers, as well as the more than 400 views of last week's video. If you haven't seen last week's video, it's an important one. We're talking about the interaction between the major insurance company and an 84-year-old woman who made a claim after something bad happened to her Lexus.
Yeah.
Right?
Things happen.
It did. And the claim was denied in many different line items, and we went line item by line item through that to talk to you about the, in many cases, unreasonable denials of payment for necessary repairs. Today we're going to pick that story back up, and we're going to talk about, can we call it the carnival of chaos that has come in the last week?
Otherwise known as new information.
It's the gift that keeps on giving. And so we're going to talk about that. But before we do, if you like what you see here on the airing of grievances, would you do us a big favor and click the thumbs up little icon? That really helps YouTube figure out this is valuable information and how to share it with more people. And second of all, if you haven't subscribed yet, because as we know, over 400 views and 32 subscribers, there's 300 and change of you who may want to just click that subscribe button and get to know us a little more. We are advocating on behalf of the consumer, in this case, an 84-year-old woman. All right, that's out of the way. Robert Grieve, happy Saturday.
To you.
And to you. All right. Rob, set the stage here for us. The video of last week's fairly self-explanatory.
But you really need to watch it to catch up to where we are today.
Absolutely.
It just keeps evolving into...
Yeah, going to put a link to that right up here. And so catch us up with where we're at and what's changed.
So actually, as of today, we got a new email from an adjuster that re-looked at this claim. And it's extraordinary.
That's a very generous and kind word that you're using there.
Yeah, and it's extraordinary enough that I felt as though, and we don't do back-to-back sequels on different things.
No.
But for the consumers out there to understand the lack of education that adjusters have and the pushback and the grind not to pay to fix the car properly.
Yeah.
You have to rely on somebody. You got to find that somebody to rely on, and it wouldn't be this particular gentleman that wrote this estimate.
Yeah, and we've done another video talking about, or actually we didn't do the video. Somebody else made a video who was an adjuster for a major insurance corporation, who talked about the fact that adjusters' whole job, from their supervisors down, is to adjust the claim downward.
Down.
Right? To pay less. And of course, we're not belittling anyone for trying to do their job. What we are doing is calling to attention the lack of education in the process of trying to do that job. The adjuster is actually trying to work himself or herself into the role of the person who's repairing the vehicle, which they are not.
Yeah, and
where do we start?
So we start with, I want to just pick up when we left off. We were reading the letter that was sent to the guest.
Yeah.
And the thing that really caught my attention that I didn't bring up last time is the last part where they say, our investigation reveals that these charges are neither not reasonable or necessary to restore your vehicle to pre-loss condition. So if we're performing an investigation, we kind of get like all parties involved in that.
It sounds reasonable.
But we were never contacted to be part of the investigation.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, they said many times in here, not supported by documentation, not supported by documentation. You know, there's 3 or 4 instances of that.
Yeah.
And yet, let me just do this.
That's a thick stack of
I'm going to show you what
documents.
was sent to them when we sent in the estimate.
All right.
This procedure right here,
Yeah.
several pages.
Yes.
This procedure from Lexus right here. These are all Lexus documents right from the factory.
Okay.
Here's another one.
All right. Yeah.
All right. You know, so I'm wondering if they could read how they could possibly come at the conclusions they came at.
That there was no documentation
That
supporting
there's no documentation supporting it, seeing we provided lots of documentation.
There's 20, 25 pages
I mean,
of documentation.
look at how thick this is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not overly thick, but you know they can't read this much, so why send any more? But the fact of the matter is, we did send a documentation along with the request, and their investigation did not include what Lexus has to say. This is not what we have to say. This is what Lexus has to say.
Well, clearly an investigation, the word investigation implies boots on the ground, eyes on the car, and an awareness of what the manufacturer, the vehicle manufacturer, says is the proper condition for restoration.
And the repairer doing the research, finding all this information and sending it, that was a complete waste of time. But, you know, regardless, there we are. It should also be known that they did this virtually.
Wait.
So while we have our eyes on the car, our own eyes, and
Yeah.
touching the car,
Right.
they're making all these decisions based off photographs and not our repair plan and not the required documentation that
So
we sent
we're
them,
talking-
even though they say we didn't send it.
We're literally talking apples and oranges here. You guys had eyes on the car, and you're telling me that this adjuster has never even seen the car
Not
with his
in
own
person.
eyes?
Not in person. You know, they said the bumper was repairable according to the pictures. Well, we wrote to replace the bumper, so I guess they know better looking at the pictures than we do looking at the car. In the end, they did change that, but
I happen to know that pictures only show 1, maybe 2 dimensions.
look, that we're the eyes on the ground. If you want us to do this for you, great, we'll do it for you,
Right.
but don't ignore it. Or call us up and have a conversation. It's not that hard. Well, let's talk about a couple of things by the way, this is his email. It goes here, 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 and here.
Huh?
You know, there's
He likes to write.
yeah, lots written here. You know, to avoid paying. So, and keep in mind, we did talk last week about the fact that they are not allowed to lie to you or mislead you in order to not pay you. And
That's in the disclaimer at the bottom, right?
it would be in the disclaimer if they used the correct Colorado disclaimer.
Oh.
But they're still using, even today, the Arizona disclaimer, which they're not allowed to do. It's in Colorado. The repairs are in Colorado. She's in Colorado. You put the Colorado disclaimer on it. No, they used a shortened version from Arizona, which doesn't include the verbiage about not lying, cheating, stealing, misleading.
At the risk of being called into the Department of Insurance.
Yes.
Well, it doesn't suit them.
They're above it.
Yeah.
So, in order to address some of the stuff he puts up front, we have to go to some of the stuff they put in the back. So, right out of the box, at the bottom, close to the bottom, it's written, disconnecting the battery is not necessary. Stand by. Removing the tailgate and cover will not drain the battery.
Are we concerned about draining the battery?
No. It's common sense that if you're disconnecting anything electrical, okay, so when you take the tailgate off, You're disconnecting lots of things inside that tailgate.
Lights, sensors.
That are electrical.
Yeah.
We're replacing the bumper cover. The bumper cover has all distance sensors all around it. The tailgate has a backup camera in it, which we'll get to a little bit later.
Okay.
So if you're disconnecting all these electrical components, it just you disconnect the battery.
Sounds reasonable to me.
Just one of those things. So we're not disconnecting the battery because we're worried about draining the battery.
Right.
We're disconnecting it to protect the electrical components.
Okay.
So that being said, let's go back to the front where this person says there's no reason to reset the steering angle sensor for this type of impact. We are not resetting the steering angle sensor for the impact. It's not because of the impact that we are resetting and recalibrating the steering angle sensor. If you look right here at
this is one of the supplements that you
Yep.
provided for them.
Yep. This is the initialization document from Lexus.
Yep.
And it says procedures necessary when the battery terminal is disconnected, reconnected. Necessary procedures: reset back door close position, power back door function, back door closer function.
Yep.
And correct the steering angle neutral point, steering angle sensor neutral point. So we're not doing this because of the damage per se. We're doing this because we're disconnecting the battery
Right.
to disconnect the other stuff.
Anytime you disconnect the battery, you'd have to recalibrate the things that require recalibration.
And by the way, he said someplace else here, I don't know if I underlined it or not, that we'll have to get back to him on reinitializing the actual power back door, even though it says right there that it needs to be done.
Which he has in his possession.
Yes. All
From
of them
you
do.
that he ignored.
All of them do.
Yeah.
So, going down the list, we're back to trial fit parts, but we added something new this time. I love this. Trial fitting of the parts is not needed, and if the parts do not fit, that's a manufacturer issue and will have to be discussed with the dealer. As I said in the last video, we pre-fit the parts to see if there's any other damage that can't be seen. We want to make sure the gaps and everything are fine, because sometimes if a gate is damaged or a fender or anything else,
Sure.
it could damage what it's attached to. The only way to know that is to put the new part on, make sure it's all good. Then we're going to take the part back off. It's going to go through the paint department
Right.
and do all the stuff that we talk about.
Yep.
And then go back on the car. It's not to see if the part is bent from the factory.
How often are parts bent from the factory? I mean,
We'll get a part with a ding or some sort of shipping damage on
Sure.
it. I mean, every now and then you get one that's run over by a truck when you take it out of the box.
But the factory makes factory parts.
You call the dealer like we would, and this is not about that. This is about making sure the tailgate is going to fit perfectly.
It sounds like a lot of smoke and mirrors to tell the narrative of we're not paying, instead of common sense telling the story that we're going to pay for the right job the right time the first time.
Yeah. So they go on to say tailgate wax is not needed as corrosion protection is already on the estimate. I don't know if that means they spilled corrosion protection on the estimate or if it's not included in the estimate. But again, I can provide as many Lexus documents as you want, as you have to use a cavity wax on the inside of the tailgate
To prevent rust.
It's corrosion protection.
Corrosion, yeah.
And so, these people. We're going to hold off on the camera for right this second.
The camera is a good story.
Access repair manual will not be added. Shop set is for inspections and calibrations. This is all part of pre and post scans. Looking up the procedures to find out what bolts are maybe one-time use, what the torque setting should be for the bolts, and different system stuff. I mean, just for the tailgate, I think it's like 60 pages. It's not part of plugging a scanner into a vehicle and diagnosing the electrical system and the different functions that should be operating. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how you even get there. This lady is reading these things, and I don't even know what's going through her head. But there's an answer for every one of these lines, and the assumptions that are being made are just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna. This is a good one. Seat belt safety check is part of estimating damages. There is a whole procedure for checking the safety belts.
Yeah.
And that's required by Lexus when a vehicle's in collision. And it's various degrees depending on what model you're working on, your make and model. But it has nothing to do with estimating damages. But let's just say seatbelt safety check is part of estimating damages. Well, didn't they estimate the damages? So why didn't they perform the seatbelt safety check, which isn't included in writing an estimate?
I don't think you can perform that safety check through cameras or a photograph.
Right. So it's the dumb things that are written here. Now we're going to go to the camera. No camera seen in the photos, so no calibration or trip charge is needed.
Oh.
We clearly sent them a picture of the camera in the tailgate. They're choosing to. I don't know what they're doing here. I mean, it's not that hard. They're making this thing so hard.
Yeah, he is working overtime to say no.
I mean, look at all these pages of no. I mean, it's just and the assumptions are so remedial. I can't even believe he put them in writing, to tell you the truth, because they're just horrible, and it just shows the lack of education, the lack of caring.
Yeah, I was going to say the lack of empathy towards this woman whose
Yeah.
vehicle she's paid all her life for her insurance, and the one time she needs help, they're saying no.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that there isn't other shops that wouldn't do these things. There's plenty of shops that wouldn't do these things.
Yeah.
But these things are required to put it back to pre-loss condition. We're Lexus authorized. We're required to do that.
Yep.
And we work hard to make sure our guests are put back to pre-loss condition. So I don't know what else to say about this thing. I just wanted to give an update because these are just incredibly concerning statements that they put in here. They talk about the bumper is repairable, so here it is. Raw urethane kit. That's for cleaning if you remember the last video, that's for cleaning the release agents off of a new bumper.
Yep.
Raw urethane kit is only needed if the cover is being replaced OEM, the original equipment manufacturer. Photos show the cover is repairable. Well, they decided to see it our way, and they replaced it with a new bumper cover.
Oh. But still denying.
But still
the
did
raw
not
urethane.
include the raw urethane prep, which is all they have to do is click the box.
It's
right next to it. Replace bumper, raw urethane. Click the box, and it's included.
Contradicting himself with every other sentence. It just makes no sense.
It's horrible that guests have to go through this.
Yeah.
And you really need somebody on your side to help you through this mess.
This second letter that he wrote to the customer of this insurance company. Last video, we cited a movie line talking about, the end part of the line was, "You must be stupid, stupid, stupid." With the second letter that he has sent to this woman, denying all these things and contradicting himself in the process and not being aware of the things that we did send to him, it reminds me of the beginning of that clip. And that is, "We have denied you 8 times.
This is our final time."
My goodness, Goliath. And they're stepping over dollars to pick up dimes. They're literally trying to deny $5 on the estimate.
It's just, I mean, you go to the camera. It says right here all the procedures necessary with all these pages to calibrate the rear camera. Why would we include it if it didn't have a camera?
Hello.
And how easy is it to just call somebody at Lexus or at the dealer, say, does this vehicle have a camera? No, they'd rather just deny it, like, because we didn't send a picture, which we did send.
We sent the picture. That's by the way, we sent the picture.
They are absolutely just grinding. And once again, just to remind you from last week, when they sent this letter, which I can't show you this letter, he'll show you a letter.
I'll post it right here.
It says here, replace tailgate shell, not necessary for repairs. It was on the original thing. They knew it from the beginning, but they still had to put that in here. This is all bullying tactics, not to pay you, and we're here to help you through this stuff. But to let you know that if you get fancy letters like this on your claim, no matter where your car is getting fixed, we're happy to give you our 2 cents on it, and get with your shop and ask them to explain each one of these things, because these adjusters are just looking for ridiculous reasons to deny claims.
Yeah, instead of a good neighbor, I think you need a good advocate. And the advocation that we provide for you is free. You could just go ahead and I'll put a link to our phone number here, as well as our website. That's in the description box as well. Rob, we're working hard to provide the proper repair and the justice due to this 84-year-old woman. But hers is just one of thousands.
Oh, we got another one coming.
Yeah.
We got another one on the way that we're dealing with the same adjuster. I can't wait to get the email and the paperwork. It's going to be exciting.
Stay tuned here, if you would, please, and make sure that if you haven't subscribed yet, do that. Click the notification bell, because that will actually notify you. And in case you want to set an alarm for yourself, every Saturday morning at 9:30 in the morning here on the Mountain Standard Time is when we post a new premiere video. That means we are actually in-house, ready to engage and answer any questions and engage with you on a Saturday morning. Rob, super grateful for you, my friend.
Happy Saturday, and thank you also very, very much for watching the show last week. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.